Hi everyone, in this video I will show you a quick guide to repair the Copal SV shutter. This is the Copal SVA shutter and the camera is Konica Auto S I'm currently working on. There are variants in the Copal SV shutter, but they are almost the same. Firstly, to access the Copal SV shutter, you need to remove the components of the front lens unit until you reach the shutter speed cam plate. The components in the front lens unit can be quite vary from camera to camera, but I believe most people can remove the front lens element easily. This is the shutter speed cam, and after removing it, this is where most people get frustrated. It looks like very complicated, but they're actually quite simple once you understand how the components work. Forget about this gear. This is only included in this Konica Auto S. You will not see it on other cameras. There's a small lever that clicks to the shutter speed cam when you turn the shutter speed dial. To remove it, simply pull it out. The component with the most issues is this shutter speed control escapement unit. This is the self-timer unit. This is the main spring, the shutter release mechanism, and the bulb lever. This one is a flash sync mechanism. You will see two screws on the escapement unit, but do not remove the upper one. To remove the escapement unit, first cock the shutter. You can also cock the shutter by pushing the main spring arm. Then you have to remove these three screws. You can now easily take out the escapement unit. There are also two triangular-shaped washers below it. To remove the timer unit, first unhook the spring. Then turn the timer lever slightly down so that it won't interfere with the frame when removing. And there is a locking screw that can't be removed. Turn that screw to align with the slot of the timer base plate. Then you have to push this little lever inward when removing the timer unit. Easy, right? Regarding the bulb lever, when in bulb mode, this lever will stop the shutter release arm from moving all the way, keeping the shutter open until you release the shutter button. In other shutter speed settings, the lever will bypass the release arm over it. There is a hairspring hooked to the lever, so don't lose it when removing. You will need this kind of snake eye or pig nose screw bit to remove the screw that holds the shutter release mechanism. I tapered the bit slightly to match with the screw slot. The typical bit is too thick to fit into the screw. Remove the hairspring first. There is a little washer in this unit. To remove the other spring, place your finger over the release arm to prevent the spring from flying off when removed. This is the main spring stopper that stops the main spring arm from going all the way back, pulling the shutter blade ring and damaging it. This one is for the flash sync. There is a tiny hairspring hooked. You have to release the hairspring if you want to get to the shutter blades and aperture blades. Remove the hairspring hooked into the shutter blade ring as well. To clean the shutter blades, you need to remove the shutter unit from the focus unit by removing the ring that holds both units together. This can be different from camera to camera. Sometimes you have to remove the rear lens unit first. Components on the backside of the shutter unit can also vary widely, depending on the camera's brand and model. Typically, there are 3 or 4 screws that need to be removed to get the shutter and aperture blade sections. In the Copal SV shutter, the shutter blades usually come in pairs, small and large. The shutter blades should be cleaned of oil and lube. Also, never ever apply lube or oil to the shutter blades. When replacing the shutter blades, the last blade pair should be in reverse order, like this. The escapement unit is the most common reason you get inaccurate shutter speed, or the shutter only fires at the highest speed. If you pull the arm on the left side and push the arm on the right side arm should return smoothly and quickly. Releasing the arm on the left side will slow down the arm on the right. If you don't want to disassemble this part, you can apply a small amount of watch oil on the gear pivot point and exercise it until it runs smoothly. Lighter oil, WD-40, or other anti-rust lubricants can also be used, but the oil should not be dripping from the unit. Just a tiny amount is okay. But sometimes you have to disassemble the unit completely because there can be rust accumulating inside of the gear. I usually apply anti-rust oil to the rust area and exercise it. Then clean the oil and reassemble the part. Reassembly can be tricky due to the 2 spring-loaded arms on both sides, but with patience, it can be done. The timer unit is easy to clean and reassemble. It also doesn't need to have the precise movement. All right, let's put back things together. Cock the shutter. First, put the 2 washer back in. Place the escapement part and screws. And test the shutter. For the timer unit, before hooking the spring, move the tiny lever outward and push the timer lever up. Otherwise, you will have difficulty hooking the spring. Look beautiful. When putting back the shutter speed cam, make sure all the notches of the bulb lever and escapement lever are in their proper places. cock the shutter again and check if the shutter speed settings are working properly. This is how the Copal Shutter sets the speed. Actually, there is nothing to adjust. All settings are factory defined. So, if you can make every component run as smoothly as it should, you can assume your camera shutter speed is accurate. You will see different components of different shapes on another shutter, such as Seiko, but the working concept is the same on the escapement, timer, bulb lever, release arm, mainspring, and flash sync contact. I hope you find the useful information in my video. Thanks for watching.